Hey everybody, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. If you're new to the channel, I'm Chad, CK Knife and Tool. Get you sorted out here real quick. A little chilly day here in PNW, but we're enjoying ourselves, taking it easy. I've spent the better part of the morning doing classes with the kids, hanging out, and editing video, because I'm really far behind in my video content. I've recently dropped from doing 2 videos a week to 1 video a week because I got so behind with the weather and being sick. We lost power, all that stuff. I was like 4 weeks behind. So I'm slowly playing catch up right now. And I was doing all my editing, like I was saying. But I got to thinking, my buddy Jeff, JC Knives, he's got a really good video series out, your YouTube Knife Mentor. It's pretty cool. You should check him out over here. Just type up above JC Knives and you'll see him in there. And he's got a really good video series going on about making a knife and walking you through, you know, what to think about. But one video he did a little while back was basically breaking down the cost of a knife. And it got me thinking that maybe I should touch on it a little bit, because the way I've taken my knife business has been in a little bit different direction than what Jeff has. Simply because I started YouTube years ago and helping build up the channel. Also, unlike some knife makers, I've taken a different approach to things, and I thought maybe I'd address this with you. Also put a video out on it because I've actually had some emails and Facebook conversations with a few people in the past before Jeff put his video out. And then when Jeff put the video out, I got to thinking, you know, I told him, I says, he's spot on with his series. I really like it. I really think it's going to be helpful to a lot of makers. But I wanted to touch on a little bit about what I'm doing and how what I do affects my business. So let's go inside the shop. I'll share that with you a little bit and kind of get you up to speed to what to think about. Alrighty here, let's close this up a little bit and get you sorted out here. Okay. Still chilly. Still can't seem to get rid of that cough. For the life of me, I can't seem to get rid of that. Oh, one of my notes. Right here. So basically, I've had folks asking me about getting into knife making and what to do. Whether it was the tools, and they've watched my playlists about you know, certain types of like the leather tools or things like that, and the stitching pony and my bandsaws and the shop fox stuff I have. Here in 2019, I'm doing update videos on a lot of that stuff. The bandsaw, the Shop Fox dust collection system, the Shop Fox sandblasting set, and a few new tools probably that are going to be coming up later this year. But one of the things I wanted to talk about really quick was what was really nice is, again, I'll refer you back to Jeff when it comes to the breakdown about your what you want to charge for a knife. But I'm going to go back a little further, and I don't remember if Jeff touched on it. And that's why I wanted to mention this one thing was, I mentioned to a few guys, don't use YouTube. If you think you want to be a YouTuber, don't use YouTube and get into knife making and use YouTube I guess, don't build a YouTube channel based on knife making. I would say use your YouTube channel, and one fella hit it on really good. He wants to start a YouTube channel, and he wants to show people what he's going through in learning how to make knives and maybe build a knife business. I thought that was a really nice idea. I really think that's got possibilities, and you can branch out so much because, again, it gives people another view inside a knife shop and what someone has to buy regarding their tools and the costs and maybe some of the overhead and everything. Now, unlike a lot of knife makers like myself, who are literally just a one-man shop, or maybe you might have one guy and maybe a little part-time help, most knife makers I found are very small. They fall under the category of hobbyists. Many of you guys that watch my channel will know exactly what I'm talking about. You fall under hobbyists. Same thing with woodworking. Guys that like to do little projects in their shop that might sell their wares once in a while at a show or maybe to family and friends. You're a hobbyist. You're really not making a ton of money on it. You're really not promoting the business because you all have a full-time job. I took knife making and it went from being a hobbyist to turning it into a part-time job to turning into Facebook, or to turn my knife making into social media, which was Facebook and Instagram and MeWe and YouTube. And now I've gone and made it kind of like a full-time job. At the same time, I'm taking care of the homeschooling with the kids and doing all the other stuff around the house. But with that being said, once I started to make knives for other YouTubers and started to sell knives, and I started getting people into the shop, meaning I'm working with them to build their first knife, or I've done a father and son build and such, that led me to a lot of other things that most knife makers are not even experienced in or have touched in or even want to bother. One of them is being licensed. Here in Washington State, I'm actually a licensed business. I am under manufacturing, and I am CK Knife and Tool. That means I pay my business fees every year, my license fees, to be a business in the state of Washington. Secondly, I actually am fully licensed and insured. I actually have full-on insurance to cover my building, to cover all my tools, all my equipment, my liabilities in case someone gets hurt, I get hurt, somebody gets hurt in a shop. Also, I actually ended up getting insurance to insure all of your knives. Yes, at the making of this video, I bet you I have somewhere around 30, well, I do have 28 knives actually right here behind you guys. I have 28 knives all paid for at various costs. I'm telling you right now, that's a lot of money, especially with the fact that with all of your tools and your equipment, all of the money that I've taken from you guys, and I've had to order special pins, I've bought the stainless steel, the tech locks, the Kydex, the Holstex, the eyelets, the Palmgren press, everything that I have is in this shop, or what you've paid me for is in this shop. Every one of those buckets is at least worth $350, if not more. That's a lot of money. If anything happened to this shop, and I got to the point where I couldn't work for 4, 5, 6 months, I got to get you your guys' money back. Because a lot of you are on the fence or whether or not you want to buy a knife. But the other thing is too, is some of you have been waiting 4 or 5 months, and right now it's a 6 to 8 month, heavier on the 8-month wait period. So you've bought a knife, you bought a knife, I've gotten all your materials staged and in your bucket, but now you're waiting. So all that money is sitting there. Well, if something happens to me in my shop, I got to be able to make sure that you guys get your money back. Now, granted, I don't go and take all your money and spend it like a drunken sailor, or I should say a drunken Marine. I do take that money, put it aside, but I also use some of that because it pays for me. It pays for what I do. I use it, I turn it back into the business. So if I took somebody's money and I bought maybe a new tool or a little extra equipment, or I bought some extra bandsaw blades or something along that line, like a business does, I do that. But I also use that money, that profit, to put back into business and to buy insurance. So I actually insured my business, and most knife makers don't do that. I'm not saying why or why not. They should or shouldn't. I'm just saying it's something to think about if you want to get into knife making and you want to take this into a larger business. Now, with that said, a lot of ways to get around that is just don't take orders. Just make knives at your whim, however you want to make them. You make a knife, you put it out on your website, and then you sell that. You put it on social media and you sell it. This way you're not taking anybody's money and having to sit there and then take orders and build all that up. That'll alleviate a lot of that stress. So that's the one thing you can alleviate, to get away from. The second thing is don't do classes. Don't have somebody come in your shop and work with them to make their first knife. Don't have a class where you could do a father and son thing, or have a build where somebody's going to make a knife for somebody else. Don't do any of that kind of stuff, and then you won't need that insurance either. If you stay as a hobbyist, and I guess you can in Canada, this is all state varied. Some states are a lot more controlling, like my state, versus some other states that are a lot more easygoing and a lot more of a free state. You might not even have to get a business license. A lot of hobbyists here in Washington don't get business licenses simply because they're hobbyists. They might sell 10 knives a year. It's not a big deal. You don't mean much to anybody. I sell more than 10 knives a year, and I sell them to a lot of different places. I've got knives in Canada, and New Caledonia, New Zealand, the Netherlands, Poland, Australia, yeah, all through the United States. So I have a lot of knives in different places, and I want to make sure that when people buy a knife, they're secured in that. Some of the other things you got to think about too is when you start getting in such volume, it's your costs. Right now, I was just tallying it up because I was talking to my supplier, and I've spent almost $3,350 in steel just in 1 year period of time. That's all my stainless steel, all my CPM D2, all my 35VNs, the 154s, all that stuff. That's just steel. in 1 year, spending almost $3,500 in steel is a big thing. It's not for the faint of heart. As well as all the Blade Tech locks, all my Ulti clips, all the different types of micarta, all my Cocobolo, stabilizing all of my woods. These are all things that you have to think about when you want to get into knife making. But I wanted to touch on the fact that maybe the reasons why some knives cost more than others, it's because of the quality of the materials. And you also have to think about the knife maker and their overhead. I try to keep my costs as low as possible. I keep getting bigger and I keep getting a lot busier, but I still try to keep my costs low enough. But you have to understand that if I'm paying a couple $1,000s in insurance, and I'm paying for my license and to be a business in the state, and electric has gone up quite a bit in our area too. So having to power a kiln and do all that stuff, these are expenses that if you're going to become a knife maker, you have to kind of think about. If you're going to be a business, you have to think about that and whether or not that's a direction you want to travel. So I just wanted to do this quick video to share that with you. It helps maybe for people to wrap their head around what it is that I have to contend with versus maybe what somebody else might have to contend with. Or if you want to get into knife making, do you want to venture this way? Do you want to have the YouTube channel? Do you want to have the costs to have that channel and the burden, if you would say, to have to do certain things? You have to figure all that out and you know, work it out with your family and such and see how they feel with it. I get a lot of support from my family. My wife and my kids are really supportive over it, and they really help out quite a bit. So with that said, I just want to touch on real quick and share that information with you. So you all have a good one. Thank you very much for all the support, all the emails, all the questions. I don't mind it. Sometimes if I don't respond that fast, please be patient with me. I have these ebbs and flows. I get busy. I can and I can't get to your emails right away, but I do really enjoy the emails and the conversations that way. That's great. Also, the Facebook messages works great for me too. So long as we have Facebook and it's up and running, right? We could do that. That's it. So you guys, again, thank you very much for the support. Like, share, subscribe, all the good stuff. Keeps me from the bottom of the YouTube bucket. And until the next video, you all take it easy. Have a good one.